She was a powerful young CEO, drunk and broken after the company party. He was just her quiet driver, a single black dad working 2 jobs to keep the lights on. But when she woke up in his small apartment the next morning, she saw something that changed how she saw him, and herself, forever. Emily Carter didn't remember much after the 4th glass of champagne. The annual company party was supposed to be a celebration, a new funding round, a magazine feature, everyone calling her a young genius. But the louder the music got, the emptier she felt inside. She didn't remember calling Marcus, but he showed up like he always did, quiet and steady, holding the car door open while she stumbled, heels in hand, tears she didn't want anyone to see slipping down her flushed cheeks. The night air was cold as she sank into the leather seat, her head falling back against the headrest. "You okay, Miss Carter?" Marcus's voice was calm, deep, comforting in a way that made something inside her crack. "Just drive, Marcus," she slurred, waving a dismissive hand before turning her face to the window, blinking back tears she didn't understand. He didn't say anything else. He never did. That was why she liked him. Marcus glanced at her in the mirror, saw the smudged mascara under her eyes, the expensive dress slipping off one shoulder, the way her hands trembled in her lap. It wasn't the first time he'd driven her home like this, but something felt different tonight. She looked defeated. His phone buzzed quietly with a picture from Layla, a messy crayon heart with "I love you, Daddy," scrawled in bright pink. He smiled softly before putting the phone down, eyes back on the road. Halfway to Emily's penthouse, she groaned, clutching her stomach. "Pull over," she gasped. Marcus pulled into an empty gas station lot just in time for Emily to push the door open and stumble out, vomiting onto the cracked concrete, her body shaking with sobs and nausea. Marcus waited, stepping out to hold her hair back, his hand gentle on her shoulder as she leaned against the car, tears and rain mixing on her face. "I'm sorry," she choked out. "It's okay," Marcus said softly, pulling a clean napkin from the glove box, handing it to her. She looked up at him, eyes glassy, seeing him for the first time, really seeing him. And she broke. I can't do this anymore," she sobbed, sinking down onto the curb, clutching the napkin to her chest. Marcus crouched down, his tall frame folding gently beside her. "Breathe, Miss Carter. Just breathe." She let out a ragged breath, tears streaming, the weight of every decision, every lonely night, every fake smile at investors crashing down. Marcus stayed there, silent, his presence grounding her in the cold night. When she finally quieted, Emily was shivering, rain soaking her dress. "I can't take you home like this," Marcus said softly. "Then where?" she whispered, too tired to care. He hesitated, then reached out a hand. "Come on." She took it. The drive was silent, Emily curled up in the back seat, clutching a blanket Marcus kept for Layla, the scent of clean cotton calming her as her eyelids drooped. When the car finally stopped, she was half asleep, blinking at the unfamiliar building, a small, modest apartment complex. "Marcus," she mumbled. "Stay here tonight. You'll be safe," he said gently. She didn't protest, letting him guide her out of the car, up the creaking stairs, unlocking a small door that opened into a warm, tidy living room with a faded couch and toys neatly packed in a corner. Emily swayed, looking around, tears threatening again as she saw a small pink backpack by the door and a pair of tiny shoes lined up beside Marcus's worn boots. "Whose place is this?" she whispered. "Mine," Marcus said, steady, patient. Before she could respond, a small sleepy voice called from the hallway. "Daddy?" Emily turned, and there she was, a little girl with big brown eyes, wearing a princess nightgown, clutching a stuffed bunny. Marcus scooped her up gently, kissing her forehead. "Layla, it's okay, baby. Go back to bed." Layla's eyes landed on Emily and she offered a shy, sleepy wave. "Hi." Emily swallowed hard, something inside her chest breaking open. "Hi," she whispered back, her voice cracking. Marcus guided Emily to the couch, covering her with a soft blanket. "Sleep. We'll talk in the morning," he said. Emily wanted to argue, to run, to hide, but she was too tired. As she drifted off, she saw Marcus tuck Layla back into bed, heard the quiet hum of him singing softly, and felt the warmth of a home she had never known she was missing. And for the first time in a long time, Emily Carter felt safe. Emily woke to the smell of coffee and the low hum of morning cartoons. For a moment, she didn't know where she was, blinking against the soft light filtering through old curtains, her head resting on a pillow that smelled of laundry detergent and warmth. Then it all came flooding back. The party. The tears. The vomit. The car. Marcus's hand reaching out. She sat up quickly, heart pounding, eyes darting around the small living room. The couch she'd slept on was clean but worn, the coffee table covered in neatly stacked coloring books and a small vase of wildflowers. She heard laughter, a small high giggle that made something in her chest tighten. Slowly she stood, smoothing her wrinkled dress, feeling painfully out of place in this quiet, lived-in space. Her heels were lined up neatly by the door beside a pair of tiny pink shoes. Emily stepped into the small kitchen area, her breath catching as she saw them. Marcus stood at the stove, flipping pancakes with practiced ease, wearing a gray t-shirt and sweatpants, looking so different from the quiet, composed driver she knew. Layla sat on the counter, legs swinging, a plastic tiara perched crookedly on her curls as she giggled at something her father said. For a moment, Emily couldn't move. This was a world she had never seen, a world of warmth, laughter, and quiet morning rituals. A world that felt so far from her cold penthouse and empty refrigerator. Layla's eyes spotted her first. "Daddy?" "The princess lady's awake," she announced with delight, pointing with a syrupy finger. Marcus turned, a warm smile on his face, his eyes meeting Emily's. "Morning," he said softly, as if it was the most normal thing for his boss to be standing barefoot in his kitchen. Emily opened her mouth, then closed it, feeling heat rise in her cheeks. I'm so sorry," she stammered. "I shouldn't be here, Sit down, Miss Carter," Marcus interrupted gently, nodding toward a small table. "You need breakfast." Emily hesitated, glancing at Layla, who beamed at her, syrup on her chin, tiara slipping further to the side. "Daddy makes the best pancakes," Layla declared proudly, holding up her fork. Emily let out a small, shaky laugh despite herself, moving to the table and sitting down, folding her hands in her lap. Marcus placed a plate in front of her, the pancakes perfectly golden, a few slices of banana and a drizzle of syrup on top. "I can't," Emily began. "You need to eat," Marcus said simply, sitting across from her with his own plate. Layla climbed down from the counter and sat beside Emily, swinging her legs. "You can sit with us. It's okay." Emily's eyes stung and she blinked quickly, picking up her fork. "Thank you," she whispered. They ate in a quiet rhythm, Layla chattering between bites, telling Emily about her super important art project, and how she wanted to be a doctor for animals. Emily listened, nodding, her heart softening with every word, every giggle. Marcus watched them, his eyes warm but cautious, as if he was waiting for Emily to pull away. But she didn't. Instead, when Layla dropped a piece of pancake on the floor, Emily bent down and picked it up, placing it on a napkin, offering the little girl a reassuring smile. Layla grinned. "You're nice," she announced. Emily's throat tightened. "Thank you, Layla." After breakfast, Marcus cleaned up while Layla dragged Emily to the small living room, showing her collection of crayon drawings taped to the wall. "This one is me and Daddy," Layla explained, pointing to a stick figure drawing of a tall man and a little girl holding hands under a bright yellow sun. "It's beautiful," Emily said softly. Layla beamed, picking up another drawing. "And this one is for you." Emily took it, her hands trembling. It was a simple drawing of a princess with a golden crown, standing next to a stick figure with messy hair. Layla, she guessed. Above them, a rainbow stretched across the page. I don't know what to say," Emily whispered, her vision blurring. "You can keep it," Layla said happily. Marcus watched from the kitchen doorway, drying his hands on a towel, his eyes soft as he watched Emily kneeling beside Layla, studying the drawing with a look of wonder on her face. Emily looked up, meeting his gaze, and for a moment the air between them felt different. She wasn't his boss in that moment. She wasn't the powerful CEO, the woman in charge of hundreds, the woman who kept everyone at arm's length. She was just Emily. And Marcus saw her. When it was time for her to leave, Marcus offered to drive her home. Emily hesitated at the door, clutching Layla's drawing to her chest. "Marcus, she began, searching for words. "You don't need to say anything," he said quietly. "Just take care of yourself." Emily swallowed, nodding, tears welling in her eyes. She looked down at Layla, who hugged her tightly around the waist. "Bye, princess lady." Emily laughed softly, ruffling Layla's curls. "Bye, Layla." As Marcus drove her back to her penthouse, the city passing by in a blur, Emily held the drawing in her lap, tracing the rainbow with her finger. "Marcus," she said softly. "Yes, Miss Carter?" "Thank you. For last night. For everything." Marcus glanced at her in the mirror, his eyes steady. "Anytime." Emily looked out the window, the city no longer feeling quite so cold. And for the first time in a long time she felt seen. The city felt different when she got home. Emily stepped into her sleek, quiet penthouse, the door closing with a soft click that echoed in the emptiness. She stood there, heels in one hand, Layla's crayon drawing in the other, looking around at the spotless floors, the designer furniture, the endless windows overlooking the skyline. It all felt cold. She placed the drawing on the marble kitchen counter, its bright rainbow and smiling stick figures a stark contrast against the sterile white surface. For a long moment she just stared at it. That night, Emily tried to go back to normal. She opened her laptop, scrolling through emails and investor updates, typing notes for the morning's meetings. She poured herself a glass of wine, the familiar burn in her throat grounding her for a moment. But she couldn't focus. Every time she closed her eyes, she saw Layla's shy, sleepy smile. She heard the quiet hum of cartoons in a warm, lived-in home. She felt Marcus's steady presence, the way he'd held her hair back without judgment, the way he'd said, "You need to eat," like it was the most obvious thing in the world. She put the wine down. The next morning at the office, everything felt off. The hum of her assistant's voice, the clack of keyboards, the endless buzz of Slack notifications. People approached her with nervous energy, pitch decks in hand, waiting for her nod of approval or a sharp, decisive no. Emily moved through it all, her face calm, her voice precise, but inside she felt disconnected, as if she was floating above her own life. She couldn't stop thinking about Marcus. Later that day she found herself in the back of the black sedan, Marcus in the driver's seat, driving her to yet another investor dinner. He greeted her with a polite nod in the mirror. "Evening, Miss Carter." Emily swallowed, hesitating before speaking. "Marcus, can we talk?" He glanced at her briefly, then back to the road. "Of course." She twisted the strap of her purse, gathering her thoughts. "About the other night, about me showing up at your place. I just wanted to say thank you." "I'm sorry." Marcus's hands tightened slightly on the wheel, but his voice remained calm. "You don't need to apologize. You were hurting." Emily's throat tightened. "Still, it wasn't fair to you. Or to Layla." Marcus was quiet for a moment, turning onto a quieter street. "Layla likes you. She doesn't meet many people." Emily blinked, surprised. "She's a wonderful kid." "She is," Marcus said softly, a smile tugging at the corner of his mouth. "She's my whole world." Emily looked out the window, the city lights blurring past. "You're a good father." "Just trying my best," Marcus replied, his voice steady, but Emily could hear the exhaustion under it, the quiet weight he carried. They drove in silence for a while, the car a small bubble of calm in the chaos of the city. Finally, Emily took a deep breath. "Marcus, would you let me help you?" Marcus's eyes flicked to the mirror, his brows furrowing. "Help me? I see how hard you work. You take care of Layla, you work 2 jobs, you're always there for everyone else. Let me do something for you." Marcus pulled the car over to the side of the road, putting it in park. He turned to face her, his eyes calm but guarded. "With all due respect, Miss Carter, I don't need charity." "It's not charity," Emily said quickly, leaning forward. I want to help. Because you've helped me more than you know." Marcus studied her, his eyes searching hers, looking for something. "Why?" he asked quietly. Emily's eyes stung. "Because the other night when I had no one, you were there. And I saw the way Layla looked at you, how safe she felt. I haven't felt safe in a long time." Marcus let out a breath, leaning back in his seat, running a hand over his face. "I'm just a driver, Miss Carter." Emily shook her head, a tear slipping down her cheek. "No, Marcus. You're not just anything." For a long moment they sat there, the city moving around them, the hum of life outside contrasting with the quiet in the car. Finally Marcus spoke, his voice low. "What are you offering?" Emily wiped her tears, steadying her voice. "A position. At the company. Logistics, security, fleet management. You know the city better than anyone, you're organized, patient, and you care. We need someone like you. And it would mean you don't have to work nights anymore. You could spend more time with Layla." Marcus was silent, his jaw tight, his eyes flickering with conflict. "I don't know," he admitted softly. Emily reached into her purse, pulling out Layla's drawing, holding it up between them. "Do it for her." Marcus's eyes softened as he looked at the rainbow, the smiling stick figures, the bright sun Layla had drawn. For the first time in a long time, Emily saw his walls crack just a little. The car was quiet as Marcus pulled back onto the road, driving her to the dinner. As they pulled up to the restaurant, Emily placed a hand on his shoulder before stepping out. "Think about it, Marcus. Please." Their eyes met, and for a moment there was no CEO and driver, no boss and employee. Just 2 people trying to find a way to be okay in a world that didn't make it easy. As Emily walked into the restaurant, Layla's drawing tucked safely in her bag, she felt something shift inside her. For the first time, she realized she didn't have to carry everything alone. And maybe, just maybe, neither did Marcus. Marcus didn't sleep that night. After dropping Emily at the restaurant, he drove home in silence, Layla's booster seat in the back and her soft humming from the morning echoing in his mind. The apartment was quiet when he entered, the low hum of the refrigerator the only sound as he hung up his jacket. Layla was asleep, her small hand clutching her stuffed bunny, her curls spread out on the pillow. Marcus stood in the doorway watching her, his heart tightening. She deserved more than this. More than late nights waiting for him to come home. More than a tired dad who sometimes struggled to keep the lights on and the fridge full. But taking help? From his boss? Marcus sat at the kitchen table, rubbing his hands over his face, the weight of everything pressing on him. Across town, Emily lay awake too. She scrolled through emails on her phone, her eyes unfocused, the glow of the screen harsh in the dark room. Investors, marketing reports, board meeting agendas, none of it mattered at that moment. All she could think about was the look in Marcus's eyes when she held up Layla's drawing. The quiet conflict, the pride, the fear. She understood that look. She saw it in the mirror every morning. The next day, Marcus woke early getting Layla ready for daycare. She chattered happily as he tied her shoes, telling him about the rainbow she wanted to draw next, about the snack her teacher promised, about how she wanted pancakes again. "Can we have pancakes tomorrow, Daddy?" she asked, her big brown eyes hopeful. Marcus smiled softly, brushing a curl from her forehead. "Yeah, baby. We can." As he dropped her off, he hugged her a little longer than usual, breathing in the sweet scent of her hair. Marcus spent the day driving clients, but his mind wasn't on the road. Every red light felt like a moment to think. Emily's words echoed. Do it for her. He knew Emily didn't pity him. That wasn't what this was. She had seen him, really seen him, in a way no one else in his world ever did. But taking a job from her would change everything. The line between them would blur. The safe distance he kept would disappear. And yet, the thought of being home at night, of reading Layla bedtime stories without rushing to change into his driving uniform, of waking up early for pancakes instead of leaving her sleeping to start a shift. It was tempting in a way that scared him. That evening, Marcus pulled up to Emily's building, waiting as the doorman called up. She came down a few minutes later, dressed in jeans and a soft sweater, her hair loose around her shoulders, looking less like the CO and more like the woman who had fallen asleep on his couch under Layla's rainbow drawing. She slid into the back seat, but before Marcus could pull away, she leaned forward, resting her arms on the divider. "Did you think about it?" she asked softly. Marcus met her eyes in the mirror, his hands gripping the wheel. "I did." Emily held her breath. "I'll take the job," Marcus said finally, his voice low but steady. "But only if it's real. I don't want a handout. I want to earn it." Emily's eyes softened, a small smile tugging at her lips. "It's real, Marcus. You're exactly what we need." He nodded, turning his eyes back to the road, shifting the car into drive. "Okay," he said simply. The following week, Marcus stepped into the company offices for the first time as an employee, not as a driver. He wore a crisp button-down shirt and clean slacks, Layla's small hand clutching his as he walked her to daycare before his first day. As he entered the building, the receptionist looked up, surprised to see him in this new role. Marcus simply nodded, his posture calm, carrying himself with quiet confidence. Emily met him at the elevator, dressed in her usual sharp blazer, but her smile was warm, genuine. "You ready?" she asked. Marcus nodded. "Yeah." She led him through the offices, introducing him to the team, explaining his role in managing the company's vehicle logistics and overseeing security protocols. Marcus listened carefully, asking thoughtful questions, his calm presence grounding the room. Later that day, Emily found him in the garage inspecting the fleet vehicles, clipboard in hand. "You don't waste time," she said, leaning against the wall. Marcus looked up, a small smile on his lips. "You pay me to work." Emily laughed softly, shaking her head. "You're going to make this place better, Marcus?" He met her eyes, his expression softening. "Thank you for giving me a chance." Emily's eyes glistened, but she blinked quickly, composing herself. "You earned it." For a moment they stood there, the hum of the city outside, the scent of oil and rubber in the air, the unspoken understanding between them stronger than words. That evening Marcus picked up Layla, taking her out for ice cream to celebrate. They sat on a bench, Layla's face smeared with chocolate, her laughter ringing out as she told Marcus about her day. "Are you happy, Daddy?" she asked suddenly, her eyes searching his. Marcus looked at her, his heart swelling. Yeah, baby. I am. Later that night, as he tucked Layla into bed, reading her favorite bedtime story without rushing to get ready for work, Marcus realized something. For the first time in a long time, he felt like he was exactly where he was meant to be. And as he closed Layla's door and stepped into the quiet living room, he found Emily's text waiting on his phone. Thank you for saying yes. Marcus smiled, typing back. Thank you for asking. Marcus stood in the break room, pouring himself a cup of coffee, the hum of the office around him. It felt strange being here in this place where people nodded at him, respected him, valued him. He glanced at his phone, the screensaver of Layla's smiling face reminding him why he was here. Emily walked in, her laptop tucked under her arm, pausing when she saw him. She hesitated, then smiled. How's the first week? She asked, leaning against the counter. Marcus took a sip of coffee, meeting her gaze. Busy. Good. Different. Different good or different bad? Emily teased, her blue eyes soft. Marcus chuckled. Good. There was a moment of quiet, the sounds of the office muffled around them. Emily looked down, then back at him, her voice lower. I'm glad you're here, Marcus. He nodded, searching her face. Me too. Emily shifted, her fingers tracing the edge of her coffee cup. I was thinking, Layla's art is better than anything on my walls. Maybe she'd let me hang one of her rainbows in my office. Marcus's eyes softened, a smile breaking across his face. She'd like that. Emily smiled, brushing a strand of hair behind her ear. Maybe you two could come over for dinner sometime. I'm not much of a cook, but I'd like to try. Marcus paused, feeling the weight of what she was offering, not just a dinner, but a step toward something he hadn't allowed himself to hope for. Yeah, he said softly. We'd like that. That evening, Marcus picked up Layla from daycare, walking home under the soft glow of streetlights, her small hand in his. Daddy, are you happy at your new work? She asked, looking up at him with wide eyes. Marcus looked down at her, his heart full. Yeah, baby. I'm really happy. Layla giggled, skipping beside him. Good. I'm happy too. As they walked, Marcus's phone buzzed with a message from Emily. Thank you for everything you do. For Layla. For us. Marcus stopped for a moment, the word "us" sinking in, warm and soft. He typed back. Thank you for seeing me. Layla tugged at his hand, giggling. Come on, Daddy. Marcus smiled, pocketing his phone, letting the moment sink in. For the first time in a long time, the future didn't feel so heavy. It felt like a promise.